Okay, colleagues, I think we can start now, and I think we have around 30 people have joined. So thank you all of one. And thank you for joining this important webinar about the Article 6 reporting under the Enhanced Transparency Framework. And under the CBIT-GSP, we are doing this so many webinars and the workshop, but this is the maybe this year, this is the first kind of activity with collaboration of A6 IP team, and we are happy to work with them, and together we want to support the all developing countries of the Asia region. And before starting, maybe we can take a quick introduction of the our A6 IP team. So maybe some of you are already know, some of you are not. Those who are working in the Article 6 maybe are very much familiar of them. So without wasting time, let me introduce Miss Diana. She is the program manager, and I will give the floor to her to give you more information about her. So Miss Diana, please.
Thank you so much, J. Paul. Can you all hear me clearly? Okay, wonderful. My name is Diana Khan. I'm the program, one of the program managers at A6 IP Center in Hayama, Japan. I currently come from a national security background. I'm a transportation engineer by trade, and I'm currently managing the support package for our wonderful 79 partner countries. And I look forward to this wonderful discussion today. I'll hand it back to J. Paul. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana, for joining. I will move to the Suparnet.
Thank you very much, Jepal, and hello, colleagues. So I'm Suparnet. I'm also a program manager at the Paris Agreement Article 6 Implementation Partnership with IGES in Japan. So very much happy and to see this collaboration with CBIT. We are having this first webinar on Article 6 linkages with the Enhanced Transparency Framework, and we look forward to further collaboration with CBIT and also with everyone joining with us today to learn more about what you want to us to support you further in this effort. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Suparnet. I would request Chetep for the next round.
Yes, so thank you, Jepal. So greetings, this is Chatep, or you can call me Ping. I'm also the technical officers working for the A6IP. I led the development of reporting training materials, so look forward to collaborating with you and participants. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hayato. Maybe you can also give us a quick introduction.
Yes. Thank you, Jepal. My name is Hayato Nakamura, program manager of A6IP Center. And my background is more like a development cooperation. Before I was working for Japan International Cooperation Agency, so the Philippines or Myanmar, so I have worked there. So but now, so the more global initiatives. So thank you very much.
Okay, so I think let's move to the. I can see Professor Boye. Do you want to speak something? Because you are muted. Okay, I think maybe he's talking to someone else. And so let's move to the next rounds of activity. And first, we have a small Mentimeter also, and we will also take one group photo. So maybe I can start with one group photo. And I would request everyone to turn on your camera so we can take a very group smiley faces we can see. And yeah, I can see most of them are turned on. I would request the others also to please turn on your camera maybe for just 1 minute to take a quick snapshot of the all smiling faces of the Asia region. Okay, let me take the first snapshot. Keep smiling. Wait for 1 second. Those who have not started their camera, please turn on your camera. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for showing the quick smile faces of the everyone. And thank you so much for joining today's webinar. We are greatly appreciate your presence, and we will try to cover everything related to the Article 6 and Article 13, everything related to the transparencies and ETF and everything. So please feel free to ask question as many as you have. We are happy to cover as much we can. And even after the webinar, if you have any doubt, anything related to, you can contact us or our A6IP team anytime. So we are here to support you. And I want to ask maybe a 2 or 3 question initially through a Mentimeter, and then we will also run a Mentimeter at the end to understand more about the what is your understanding and also the feedback related to today's webinar. So let me share the screen and also let me post the Mentimeter link in the chat box. Okay. Okay, I have posted the link in the chat box, and now I am also sharing this screen. Okay, so those who are not able to click the link, you can also scan the QR code, or you can also type the www.menti.com in your browser, maybe in a mobile or laptop, and just enter the code 6939663. I will wait a few seconds so everyone can join, and then I will show the first question. You can also click the link in the chat box, and you will directly access the Mentimeter survey. So maybe I can move to the next question, and let's see how many participants have already joined or able to access the Mentimeter survey. Okay, I think there are few people from India, okay, from Japan, from Indonesia, Malaysia. I can see 14, 15 people in the Mentimeter. So I would request all of you to just click the link in the chat box, or you can also scan this QR code on the left-hand side to access, or on the top also there is a code. Just type www.menti.com and enter the code. I am receiving now 18, 20 responses. So I think we have almost one person from each country. So that's the good thing that we are reaching to everyone. From India, there are so many people. Yeah. Okay, let me move to the next question. So before starting, we would like to know that what is the Article 6? Either you are a completely new person for this topic, or you are maybe a in between, or you are maybe expert. I think those people who attended the COPs or SBs, they are hearing this word Article 6 so many times that something happened in Article 6, and now I think the carbon market and everything. So yeah. Okay, so at least we can say that there is a no one those who not aware completely about Article 6. There are some knowledge from basic to excellent. So that's a good thing. Hope after the webinar, we will reach at maybe a one common level, that understanding about the Article 6, transparency, ETF and everything. Okay, and I think maybe one more question. Okay, then maybe the last question we can take it after the end of the 3 rounds or 4 rounds of presentation. So I will stop here, and we will do again the Mentimeter after the end of, maybe at the end of the webinars, to know the feedback and also what is the challenges or what do you think about Article 6 and Article 13 and everything. So now we will move to the next round, and I will invite our colleague from A6IP, Miss Diana. As you know, she is a program manager in A6IP and handling this all over the activities of the Article 6 throughout all the global countries. And I will not say much about A6IP because she will cover everything. So uh, we are happy to see you and thank you for joining. I would request Miss Diana to cover the next round of the PPT's presentation, please.
Thank you, J. Paul. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, just make
Okay,
it full
great.
screen.
Yeah. Let's start. Is it okay now?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
Complete.
wonderful. Oh, okay, great. So again, my name is Diana Khan. I'm going to give an introduction to the A6 IP Center as well as our activities. So the Article 6 Implementation Partnership, we are promoting international collaboration for capacity building related to Article 6 of the Paris Agreement, including sharing good practices and supporting the implementation of Article 6. We had launched November 16th of 2022 at COP27. Some areas of work that we're currently working on are facilitating the understanding of Article 6 rules and linkages with NDCs, sharing good practices for institutional arrangements such as authorization, reporting, and tracking, developing an informational platform for Article 6 implementation, as well as conducting mutual learning and trainings for Article 6 reporting and review. So our partnership leverages on the combined know-how of countries, regional alliances, multilateral bodies, and public and private institutions of every size. Currently, the A6 IP Secretariat is the Secretariat of the partnership. So the center is formally established by the G7 ministers meeting on April 2023 at the G7 Climate and Energy Ministers meeting. So together with this declaration from G7, Principles of High Integrity Carbon Markets, we look at 4 areas: the supply side integrity, the demand side integrity, as well as market integrity. The designation of IJS as the Secretariat of A6IP. So the Institute of Global Environmental Strategies, IJS, is responsible for the management of the A6IP Center. So in cooperation with international organizations, in particular UNFCCC, the Secretariat, and the World Bank, IJS will establish, develop concrete capacity building, and support different measures and share the results to the world. Activities of the A6IP Center include developing of capacity building tools for authorization, reporting, and tracking, developing tailored support packages, which we'll discuss a little bit more into the presentation, which respond to countries' needs, collection and dissemination of information on capacity building support and data and management of this A6IP Center. Here we have a wonderful picture of our president of IJS as well as the executive director inaugurating the center itself with a beautiful wooden plaque. We currently have 79 wonderful partner countries, and our latest partner country was Benin. You can see the regions that we currently cover is Asia, Eastern Europe and Central Asia, Europe, Latin America and the Caribbean, North Africa, the Middle East, Northern America, Oceania, Sub-Saharan Africa. So this is inclusive participation from many countries across each region. The A6IP partner organizations, as you can see, we have a magnitude of different organizations that we work with, and many of the names you're probably familiar with, such as UNFCCC Secretariat, UNDP, UNFCCC, UNU. So these are many of the international partners that we work with, as well as private sector partnerships. So currently, A6 IP activities, they're based on the decisions and detailed rules for implementing Article 6 at COP27. And these, we have established three main thematic working groups. Those are authorization, reporting, and tracking. We currently are working in three other areas of providing an informational platform, technical assistance, as well as private sector support. For our information platform, we support Article 6 updates, which is information on capacity building and related events, resource sharing, such as case studies and good practices. For technical assistance, we provide practical training, workshops for mutual learning on working group themes, and technical assistance, for example, on methodology development. For private sector support, we currently have networking awareness and advocacy. So this is a joint engagement across sectors and borders, as well as research and training. We co-create webinars, playbooks, and other assets for capacity building. So currently, the support package has 6 areas of support. The framework itself is established around these 6. What our support package is basically we tailor it to every partner country needs in the areas of Article 6 strategy, authorization, reporting, tracking, project initiation, and methodology development. And this support package can incorporate all 6 elements, or it can incorporate a specific area. For example, a partner country might need more support on Article 6 strategy than they do the others. And so what we would do is tailor the support package to those needs of that partner country. The process in doing so and offering the support package, we have it laid out in 6 steps. The first step is inviting our partner country for developing their support package. The second step would be their expression of interest if they're interested in developing the support package with A6IP. The third step would be online in-person consultation, in which we would provide. And step 4 would be proposing a draft support package in which we'd incorporate a 2-year work plan for that partner country. Step 5 would be capacity building coordination. And of course, step 6 would be support package implementation. So currently, some of the partner countries that we're working with, if you're interested in knowing, they're currently in steps 3 and 4. And of course, newer partner countries who've joined are currently at step 1. So this is our NDC enhancement phases through A6 implementation, which goes into 4 various phases. Currently, we are in phase 1 of the initial stage, and then it goes on to phase 2 implementation, phase 3 review and NDC enhancement, and then closing out with phase 4, which is a continuation of Article 6 support package implementation. And that would be based on the next NDC cycle. So here we have the Article 6 launch at COP28. So we launched the support package to further enhance NDCs towards the 1.5 degree target. And this was at the participation of the ministerial meeting environment of Japan, the Ministry for Climate Change of New Zealand, and other high-level participants, for example, from Bangladesh, Singapore, the US, UNFCCC, World Bank, and International Emissions Trading Association, IETA, and various countries invited acquiring countries such as the host West Africa, Nigeria, organizations such as GGGI, IETA, UNU. They were all involved in Article 6 implementation to discuss directions for effective implementation of capacity building. And here we go into our Article 6 working groups on authorization, reporting, and tracking. Currently, we have 6 working groups which have been organized since last year. The first one is authorization that started March 15th of 2023. And the second one that took place September 26th of 2023, tracking, reporting. And the objectives of these working groups is to exchange information from partner countries and organizations who are involved in authorization, tracking, and reporting on reporting of Article 6. And they promote the development and tools for authorization and reporting and tracking. And participants are, as you can see from the photos, there are a broad range of participation from partner countries and different international organizations. So currently a timeline of activities that we have for the A6 IP Center. We have our working groups that started in the first quarter of 2023. And currently we are have our capacity building tools, developing the first draft and sharing and discussing and reflecting on feedbacks. And that goes into the fourth quarter of 2025. And we have our joint webinar, the A6IP and AIDA, the state of implementation of Article 6 after COP28. And the objective of this webinar was to share updated information on Article 6 from COP28, particularly the commitment shown by the various countries which can influence private business trends, and also to share information on Article 6 with private sector partners, particularly on the opportunities in implementing Article 6. Again, we have the timeline of activities for private sector engagement. We had the MOU arrangement with AIDA in the fourth quarter of 2023, and this timeline of activities goes into the first quarter of 2025. You can see the items such as mission to Japan, working group meetings, regional climate summit, the CORSIA web course development, support package development, where we are with that, and our advisory group meeting. So we had our first advisory group meeting on from March 7th through 8th this past year in Hayama, Japan. And objectives of our advisory group meeting was to share the latest on A6 IP activities and the work program for 2024 through 2025, to gain an understanding of the global status of Article 6 implementation and capacity building activities, and basically to further discuss the opportunities for collaboration and strategic direction to accelerate A6 implementation towards high integrity carbon markets. And here we have a wonderful photo of each individual team member who have extra expertise in various backgrounds, come from various countries. We have a wonderful group of members who bring a variety of expertise to the A6 IP Center. Thank you so much. I will hand it back to J. Paul.
Thank you, Diana, for covering and effectively cover the all activities of the A6 IP. So those who are completely new about that, now you are know that what the A6 IP do and how they are supporting the countries and what is the approach that you can follow. So maybe I will take the next round of presentation, and then maybe I will open the floor for the question and answer. So maybe you have a better idea that what is the Article 6, and then how to, if you have any question specifically to Ms. Diana or Supanat, and then we are happy to cover. So I will request Mr. Supanat for the next round of presentation. Here we will try to inform you that what is the Article 6 and under the Paris Agreement, what is the importance and everything. So welcome, Mr. Supanat, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jepal. So let me share my screen. Okay. So as this is the first time that we organized this kind of joint webinar between our A6 IP Center and CBIT-GSP. So we thought it would be a good idea to provide you with an introduction on Article 6. But I think similar to as Jepal mentioned, I'm also happy to see that everyone is already, nobody is not aware of Article 6, so you must be familiar already to some extent, but hopefully this will provide you further information for those who are still new to this area. So I will take a few minutes on to give you an introduction on the Paris Agreement, Article 6 and its rulebook, and then Ping Sang will follow me on to give you more details on the aspects of Article 6 reporting and the interlinkages with the Articles 13. So when we talk about Article 6, so the first important thing is to understand how Article 6 fit in within the overall Paris Agreement architecture. And here, as you can see, the Paris Agreement Article 6 is one of the instruments that respond to the goal of the Paris Agreement, that especially including the long-term tourist goal of limiting the global temperature to 1.5 and to well below 2 degrees Celsius. So when we thinking about implementation of Article 6, it has to also respond to that goal as well. And under the Paris Agreement, you as countries, you have to communicate your NDCs. So NDCs describe actions that you would take to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, as well as on adaptation in order to achieve the goals of the Paris Agreement. And in order to implement the NDC, countries must pursue domestic mitigation measures. But in addition to using their own resources, countries may also choose to pursue voluntary cooperation. So that's where Article 6 is coming in. And the objective here is to enable you to allow for higher ambition in your actions through collaboration with different partner countries. And as we can see, Article 6, in order to ensure integrity and transparency in the implementation of Article 6, is also important to for countries to report accurately and transparency on the actions that they are doing. So Article 6 will also link with the enhanced transparency framework in the sense of reporting and review, and how this will help countries in ensuring that they are implementing consistently with the Paris Agreement. So for participation in Article 6, there are three key principles that you will always need to be reminded of. So as I already mentioned, the first important principle in engagement in Article 6 is that it allow countries for higher ambition in both the mitigation and adaptation actions. This can be enabled to allowing countries to promote cost-effective mitigation actions, whether to accessing to low carbon technologies or to allow you to access to the carbon finance that is needed to invest in possibly maybe big investment projects, and also allow countries to build capacity to implement their own climate actions. Article 6 will also promote sustainable development in accordance with your own sustainable development objective, including how it delivers on the SDGs and providing co-benefits both in terms of environmental, social, and economic benefits. And lastly, another important element is that Article 6 cooperation help you ensure environmental integrity of the mitigation outcomes through robust, transparent governance, as well as the quality of the mitigation outcomes when you when you implement Article 6 in consistent with the guidance from the Paris Agreement. So just to also share that Article 6 is also one of the instruments that many countries are intending to use. As we can see from the NDC synthesis report last year by the UNFCCC Secretariat, we also see that over 77% of parties to the Paris Agreement expressed that they are planning to or will possibly use one type of the cooperation under Article 6. And over a half expressed interest to use Article 6.2, which is corporate approaches that I will talk later on. So when we talk about Article 6, there are three main components. So the first one is what we call corporate approaches. So basically the cooperation between partner countries that involve the use of what we call internationally transferred mitigation outcomes, or ITMOs. So those are mitigation outcomes that are generated and also can be transferred and used towards different countries and toward the country's NDC. So in order to ensure integrity and transparency in that implementation, parties will need to implement it consistently with the guidance adopted by the CMA. And there's also another component of the Article 6, which is the establishment of a centralized mechanism, what we call Article 6.4 mechanism, or the Paris Agreement crediting mechanism. This mechanism, if any one of you who are familiar with the clean development mechanism under the Kyoto Protocol, will get a sense of what this looks like. So this is basically centralized crediting mechanism that allow countries to issue the emission reduction units that can be used for different purposes. And this is governed by the supervisory body and under the guidance of the CMA. And another component of Article 6 is what we call the framework for non-market approaches. So this is not the cover for today, but just to let you know that there is also another component here that focuses on how countries can collaborate in a cooperation that does not use market mechanism. So the focus of today will be on the Article 6.2 on corporate approaches and how you will report information on that. So in order to implement corporate approaches, which is a cooperation between countries, in order to allow for the transfer of mitigation outcomes, what we call ITMOs, that can be used to NDCs or for other international mitigation purposes, such as for CORSIA. In order to implement that corporate approaches, countries must ensure that their participation is consistent with the Article 6.2 guidance, which is the guidance adopted by the CMA from Glasgow in COP26. So this guidance, including how countries can ensure that they are fulfilling participation responsibilities in order for them to participate in Article 6.2, and also ensuring that they have robust accounting in place to avoid double counting of the mitigation outcomes that has been transferred for other countries, as well as to have the system in place to ensure that they can accurately track and report on those information that is needed to be provided. So the guidance also lay out the what we call the Article 6.2 infrastructure, including the centralized database currently managed by the Secretariat, what we call the Centralized Accounting and Reporting Platform, or CARP for short, that you will be able to access various information about corporate approaches, as well as the Article 6 database that used to perform consistency check to ensure that information that are reported by different countries are consistent. So currently there are 5 corporate approaches that has been reported and recorded by the Secretariat in the CARP. So as you can see from here, the cooperation, the first type of corporate approach, of course, is the Article 6.4 mechanism, which I talked about earlier, which is a centralized UN mechanism. And there are other cooperation currently being reported, include cooperation between Switzerland and Ghana, Switzerland and Thailand, Switzerland and Vanuatu, and the latest one is the activities in the first three areas by Guyana. So I'm not going to details about Article 6.4 mechanism, but as J-Paul mentioned, we will also share this presentation so you can look further. But as I mentioned, Article 6.4 mechanism, or what we now call the Paris Agreement crediting mechanism, provide for countries, enable countries to be able to create what we currently call Article 6.4 emission reductions that can be used by countries to meet the indices, or it can be also used for other non-authorized purposes. And we have Article 6.4 supervisory setup that now has adopt a number of standards and procedures that are necessary for the operationalization of the mechanism. And you as a host country will also play an important role in the operation of this mechanism, including by providing approval for the mitigation activities, as well as to authorize in the context of Article 6.2 if you want to allow these Article 6.4 emission reductions to be transferred internationally. And the framework for non-market approaches under Article 6.8, which you can look for additional information in this slide as well. So just to want to explain a little bit more about when we talk about Article 6 rulebooks, what are they covering? So here we try to summarize the key decisions on Article 6.2 and Article 6.4 that relates to how you can implement those different elements. So as I mentioned earlier, from COP26 in Glasgow in 2021, there's a decision adopting the Article 6.2 guidance, which is more an overall guidance that provides you with details about many elements that you need to implement in order to ensure that you are implementing Article 6.2 in accordance with the Paris Agreement. There's also the Article 6.4 rules, modalities, and procedures, or RMP, which governs the operation of the Article 6.4 mechanism. And at the next COP in COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, there are further guidance coming from the CMA for Article 6.2, including on tracking, on review, and also relevant to today's discussion will be on the reporting outline that for different types of reports, as well as the draft version of how you can submit the information that you are required to be provided on an annual basis. There are also further elaboration on different processes and the rule procedures for the operationalization of the Article 6.4 supervisory body adopted at that time. And unfortunately, during the last COP, COP28 in Dubai, unfortunately, we do not have further guidance coming from the CMA. However, there are still continuing to be further work that will be leading up to COP29 in Baku that we can expect to see further elaboration on certain elements that will be helpful for countries to bring clarity and to promote further implementation. So before I conclude, I would like to also note about one of the first things that when you are thinking about participating in Article 6, the first thing that you need to think about is how do you ensure that you are fulfilling what is required in terms of participation. So here we laying out for you the list of participation responsibilities. And there are some responsibilities that's very simple, such as that you need to be a party to the Paris Agreement, and that you need to prepare, communicate, and ensure that you are currently maintaining your NDC. And there are also elements that are more Article 6 specific. The first one is that you need to set up the arrangements for authorization. So this is relating to which authority or entity you should have you assign any authority to be in charge of providing authorization, or have you established the process or any necessary legal, procedural, or policy arrangement that's needed in order to ensure that you can authorize your cooperation with other countries. Also, another arrangement that you need to be in place is a tracking arrangement. So this is basically whether you have in place a registry or have access to a registry that you can use to track ITMO's information. So currently, the Secretariat will also be providing the international registry, which is going to be rolling out later this year, that countries can also use if you choose to, or you can also make use of your national registry or other available registry with with other cooperating partners if you have one. So this is countries will need to make a choice on the registry that they intend to use to serve in the terms of tracking information about ITMOs. And in addition to that, you need to ensure that you are providing the most recent national inventory report. So this is also something that linked with Article 13. So in your participation with Article 6, you have to make sure that you are currently providing the most recent national inventory report. So as we are expecting the first BTR by this year, so this is also something that you will need to report on. And so the last one is that you will also need to provide clarification on how your participation in Article 6 contribute to your NDC, to your long-term strategies if you have submitted one, and towards the Paris goal. So this is also relating to how you set your strategy and policy in terms of how you are intending to use Article 6 and how this link with your NDC implementation and how it leads to, for those countries that have net zero emissions targets, how this will also support you in your ambition towards that goal. So these are the key participation elements that you will need to think about in participation in Article 6. And this will also be something that you will need to provide in form of report early on in the process. So following me, Bing Sang will also give you a description about Article 6 reporting, and one of the information that you will need to report will be on how you are fulfilling these participation requirements. So I hope that lay out some information about Article 6, and happy to take any questions. And then thank you very much for taking time to listen, and back to you, Jepal.
Thank you so much for Suparna to cover all the basic information about the Article 6 and also the approaches that are important in the Article 6. So as Suparna had mentioned, this is the deadline year, or maybe we can say we are the next two deadlines are coming for the submission of the BTR and also for the revised NDC in the 2025. And both of them are completely linked with the Article 6. So we are open the floor for now, question and answer. So if you have any question to the last two round of presentation, one is by Ms. Diana and the last one is by Mr. Suparna. So please feel free to unmute your mic. Even if you have any suggestion, comment, please feel free to speak. We are completely flexible and happy to hear you.
Okay, Jai, can I?
Yes, please, Professor Boyd.
Thank you very much, Supanot, for presentation. Yeah, it seems to me it's very complicated. But anyway, I would like to just ask you and get more clarification and explanation, especially the connection between the implementation of Article 6.2 with the 6.4. As far as from my understanding, at the end, the implementation of 6.4 will go into 6.2 through it more, right? If we go back into the CMA4 decision in Annex para 29B, I'm trying to open some of the CMA decision that I just show your slide. So just quickly check it, and then probably you could explain how the implementation of Article 6.4 connect into the 6.2. So if we go into 6.4, there are two type of pathway. One is go through 6.2 at the end. So it means that following the decision in CMA4 Annex para 28.9B, and then the other one CMA4 Annex para 29A. So if for the 29B, it's no need to be authorized, because the intention is actually to support the country, where actually the country for the implementation of activities will use the collaboration for the meeting the NDC target of the country. So if you could explain that, I'm not sure whether you get my question, but it's just in briefly just trying to explain a bit more the connection between 6.4 and 6.2 related to the para 29A and para 29B related to CMA 4. That's it. You got my point?
Yeah, thank you very much. And Jaipal, do you want me to? Okay. Yeah, and thank you very much for that helpful questions, and I think it will be also helpful to for others as well. So I have to admit that I could not remember that exact paragraph, but just to say in terms of the relationship between Article 6.2 and Article 6.4. So Article 6.4 is more of a crediting mechanism. So it allows you to create the emission reduction units that you can use or transfer to other countries. So as you mentioned, there are two types of Article 6.4 emission reductions. So one type is the authorized Article 6.4 emission reductions. Authorized in this sense mean that they are authorized for use towards NDC or other international mitigation purposes. Once they are authorized, you can transfer it to other countries, and other countries can use it towards their own NDC. So this is the one case of a situation where Article 6.4 will also be where Article 6.2 guidance will also be applicable to Article 6.4, because you authorize the unit that coming from this crediting mechanism, and you allow it to be able to be used for other countries' NDC or for other international mitigation purposes. But as you correctly point out, there's also a possibility that for Article 6.2, for Article 6.4, you can generate emission reductions that are not authorized. This one we currently call the MCU, so it's mitigation contribution emission reduction. Yeah, mitigation contribution unit. So this one there does not require to be authorized, and you can use it for other purposes such as your own domestic carbon pricing policies, or you can use it for result-based payments. So there are also other different ways in which you can use Article 6.4. So it doesn't always need to be authorized. So this will depend on your country, on how you strategize, how you intend to use Article 6.4. So I hope that helped clarify.
It's very clear, very clear. Thank you very much for the explanation. So can I have some additional question on this? Yeah. So another question is referring back into the methodology. We know that 6.4, the methodology should be approved by the supervisory body, right? Please correct if I'm wrong. So in this case, if we go for another pathway where 6.4 actually is not the one which is not authorized, and says, for example, if it is not authorized, and then actually the projects being implemented following a standard for like FERA or other type of standard which is already available, which is not really not yet approved by the supervisory body. So in this case, how actually the arrangement for that? So just to make clear, because there are many questions that have something like this that come up. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. And we also received a lot of questions about that. So Article 6.4, as I mentioned, is a centralized mechanism. So similar to what countries has been participating in the past with the CDM. So the methodologies are methodologies that are approved by the supervisory body for 6.4. So in that sense, so those other methodologies will not be applicable. So if you would like to participate in Article 6x4 and to have the Article 6x4 emission reduction issued, whether it's authorized or not authorized, you have to follow the rules, modalities, and procedures of Article 6x4, which include applying the methodologies that are approved by the supervisory body. So in that case, it means that when you are developing mitigation activities and you intend to use Article 6x4, you need to apply those methodologies. So this may be a little bit different from the independent standards. So you will also need to see what are that differences and how you intend to decide on which type of crediting mechanisms that you would apply. So another important principle here would be to the ensuring avoidance of double registration or double issuance, meaning that once you register the activity with one of the mechanisms, you should not register it with other mechanisms. For instance, if you already register the mitigation activities under Article 6.4, the supervisory body will also check whether you have registered this activity under other standards like RERA or GOLD standards. So if this is the case, you might not be able to register against, you may not be registered with 6x4 if you have already registered with other standards. So I hope this help clarify. Yep.
Yes, it is clear and answered my question, but there is some additional question because of that answer. So the other one is actually if we use say another standard, gold standard, and then we produce a credit from that because it's already registered in another system, right? It is not the one in under the UNFCCC. So how the country where actually is location of the project where it is being implemented, whether they can use that kind of certificate for meeting the NDC in their countries. Or if it is all related to NDC, you have to use the methodology which is already authorized by the UNFCCC in the context of Article 6.4. If that is the case, then there's no way that we have to use that one. So in the case, if we say if we would like to, to produce a credit through 6.4, we have to use the methodology approved by the UNFCCC. So in this case, we can use that credit for the intention of meeting our NDC target. So another activity which is used another standard, also registered in another system, and then with this producer credit, so we cannot use that one as a credit or certificate emission reduction that can be used for meeting the NDC target in our own countries. Am I right?
Yep. Thank you very much for that question. So in order for you to, if you are, so I think putting it in a way that if you're acquiring credits from other countries, so and you want to use those credits towards your NDC, so in this case, Article 6.2 guidance will apply. And for Article 6.2, for implementation under Article 6.2 guidance, under Article 6.2, you can use Article 6.4 mechanism to generate the emission reductions, but you can also use other mechanism as well. This depends on the arrangement between you and partner countries, and you have to ensure that you can implement those cooperation consistently with what is required under Article 6.2. Because that will also be something that you need to report on.
Okay.
But you doesn't need to use to say that Article 6.4 mechanism is not the only option that you can use in order to use those mitigation outcomes toward your NDC. So I hope that helped clarify.
Yeah, clear. Thank you very much. That's really very useful.
But just to
thank you.
Yeah,
clarified what my question in my head. So thank you very much for a very clear explanation. I really appreciate that.
For that. Yeah. And Jepal, do you want me to also take up some of the questions I see in the meeting chat?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I hope we still have some time. So thank you very much to Niraj for the question. So if a party has developed its own national registry that also functions as its Article 6.2 registry, do Article 6 rules allow the countries to lend its registry to other countries which don't have its national registry? So the answer is absolutely yes. So you can, in your cooperation with your partner countries, there's always a possibility for you to also use other countries' if that they also allow for function for you to be able to use that registry system as well. So one of the example is the Japanese corporation, the joint crediting mechanism between the government of Japan and partner countries. So in this joint crediting mechanism, the Japanese government also provide the JCM registry that partner countries can also use. So partner countries can also open the country's account in the JCM registry and use that for the purpose of tracking the JCM credits that are issued and are transferred under that corporation as well. So the principle here is that you must have a registry or have access to a registry. So if you can have access to other registry, that's also possible for you as well. And for a question from Shek, so under 652, should a country need to submit corporate approach for every project, or one corporate approach is sufficient for executing different types of projects? And what will be the case for submitting initial reports to the UNFCCC? So yeah, thank you very much for that question. So this is one of the things that has created quite a lot of confusion, and I may not be able to answer clearly at this moment because as we can see that countries currently have different approaches in how they report information on what they refer to as the corporate approaches. So you will see in the initial report that has already been submitted that some understand the corporate approach as the mechanism or as the cooperation between countries, but there are also some who view corporate approaches as an individual mitigation activities that they are implementing. So this will depend on, I would say it will depend on how you consider that the information that you're providing in your initial report, whether you can certify what is required to be reported in there. So the different elements relating to environmental integrity, relating to sustainable development, and many other elements. So you must ensure that in how you define this corporate approach that you will be able to provide all the necessary information that is needed in that regard. So I think that would be my answer for now. And I think later on, Kun Chattev or Bing Sang will also provide further information on this as well. So thank you very much for that question.
Yeah, I think there is one hand from the Malaysia. So Miss Liz, please.
Yeah, thank you, Supanat, for your presentation, and Diana too. I have a very, very basic question. It's on implementation. Say if two countries agree to participate in 6.2, and often, you would have different stakeholders contributing towards the cooperation, right? So is it better for the country, for the corporation to transfer the credit to the host party or to the government, and then the government transfers the credit to the partner country, or it is just direct? What do you think would be a better option from your experience? Thank you. Was my question clear?
Yes, thank you very much for your question. It's very clear, but it's a little bit difficult to answer. But from my experience, I think as a host country, I mean, as Malaysia as a host country or other countries as a host country, what's important for you is that you must ensure that you'll be able to understand what you are authorizing, and you must be able to track how much has been transferred, how they are transferred, where they currently are. So these kind of things will be important for you to consider. And from our engagement with partner countries under the A6IP, we think that this depends very much on different country context. So I wouldn't be able to give you a definite answer, but I think it would depend on different countries, how much oversight do you want to have over the activities, and how much you want to engage in that arrangement of the actual transfer of the emission reduction. So some countries view this as something that are the transactions between project developers and the acquirers, in a way that this is more like commercial terms that country as the government doesn't have to be they don't have to oversight over those commercial terms, as long as they can ensure that they have information on how much has been transferred, and that they can ensure that those that are transferred has been authorized by the government. So if they ensure that they have this authorized this governance in place, they might not necessarily have to involve directly in that transaction. But there might also be other government who think that it's simpler, as you say, to also have the emission reductions generated from the project to be transferred to the government first, and then you do this transaction between the government. So I think it would depend on how countries decide on that arrangement. But most importantly, you need to ensure that you'll be able to have the oversight, and that you will be able to have access to those information that's necessary for you also to report to the UNFCCC.
Yeah, I would also request Ms. Chamika from Sri Lanka.
Thank you very much for your presentation. My question is that I learned that under the Article 6.2, it is needed to have some agreement or some MOE for to have both parties to do the corresponding adjustment. My question is that under Article 6.4, if we implement some projects with the both parties, how the corresponding adjustment do? Under Article 6.4.
Thank you very much for that question. So if I understanding correctly, so you asked for Article 6.4, how the corresponding adjustment will work. So
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. So under Article 6.4, before the Article 6.4 emission reductions will be issued. So the secretary will and the supervisory body and the secretary will check whether the host country has authorized those emission reduction or not. So if you authorize those emission reductions, so this is a process where countries may provide that statement of authorization, or you may provide it in any form, the authorization for those emission reductions prior to the issuance. This is depending on the country if you choose to do so. So you provide authorization prior to issuance, and then once the units are issued, there are the authorized Article 6.4 emission reductions, and there can be countries who acquire those emission reductions. Then they would provide the authorization so that they can use those emission reductions. So in principle, the authorization doesn't need to happen at the same time. So it will depend on different countries' arrangement. What we see from cooperation also that some country to cooperation that we are currently seeing authorization by the host country and by the acquiring country, they don't necessarily happen at the same time or at the same process of the activity cycle. But just to note also that there's currently no restriction for you to provide authorization later on in the process as well for 6.4. So you can, the 6.4 emission reduction, you can be issued, and then you can engage with your other countries and then providing authorization that are corresponding with each other. So that's also a possibility. So under Article 6.4, what is required in order for those emission reduction to be authorized emission reduction is that you must provide authorization as a host country. So I hope that helped clarify.
Yeah, maybe the last question from Single in the chat box. Maybe Supanat, you can.
Yeah, thank you very much. So what according to you means other purposes used and list for ITMOs? Is there any clarity on this? So thank you very much, and that's a very interesting question. So for other purposes, so we know that the use case for ITMOs currently there are for use towards NDC, but there's also possibility for use towards other international mitigation purposes, and this include international mitigation purposes such as for CORSIA, or if in the future if IMO has a similar kind of mechanism, this will also be applied. But for other purposes, this refer to any other purposes that's determined by participating parties. So what our Article 6.2 says that these are purposes that participating parties have has to they can determine among themselves. So I can give an example here. So in the case of Switzerland and Ghana, so they agree to allow for the ITMOs from the project in Ghana to be used to offset the administrative emissions of the Swiss government. So this is something that's considered as other purposes. So there are any other purposes that are determined by the participating parties involved in that cooperation. So that's the current provision from the Article 6.2 guidance. And so about the CDM transition, what will happen to the credit which are issued and not retied by the projects which are eligible for transition? Okay, so for when we talk about transition, so there are different elements of transition. So if we talk about transition of the activities, so this means the activities that are registered as the same projects or under the provisional measures, that they can transition and be registered as 654 mechanism as the activities under Article 654 mechanism. So in that sense, any other emission reductions that are going to be generated would be Article 6.4 emission reductions, and they would be no longer the CER, so no longer the CER from CDM. But there's also another aspect of transition, which is about the use of CERs that are issued pre-2021. So there are also certain provisions that allow certain use, but with really limited case where you can use the CERs that are issued towards the first NDC. But there are rules regarding to the vintage and also other specifications as well under the Article 6.4 RMP that you can check out to see whether so that those are the eligibility that you need to also consider. But I hope that helped in terms of clarifying about this matter. So the transition of the projects and the issue about the credits itself are different matters. But you will see that being specified in the Article 6.4 rule modalities and procedures. So, yeah, thank you for all that question.
Thank you so much for Supanat for answering the so many questions, and we are happy to answer. So thank you all the participants, and if you have any question, we will open the floor. Maybe we have still 2 rounds of presentation. So after that, we will also cover the question. Anytime you can also put it in the chat box. So thank you the all participants, and thank you Mr. Supanat for the active involvement and all the answers. So let's move to the next round of the presentation, and here we will speak about cover the Article 13, Article 6 of the Paris Agreement, and the linkage with the ETF, the new under the Paris Agreement. So I will invite Mr. Chetep Chemiam for the next round of presentation. So the floor is yours.
Okay, okay, thank you very much, Jepao. Okay, and thank you, Supanat, for sharing the screen. My internet connection is not that good. If you could make in the presentation mode.
Okay, sorry, is it on now?
It's off.
I'll wait for a moment. Can you see it in full screen? Oh, sorry. Wait for a moment. Okay, can you see it on full screen now?
Yes. Okay. Okay. So today, my colleagues already shed some light on the Article 6 introduction of Paris Agreement. So I'll go into details on the introduction to Article 6 reporting, and it's also linkages with the enhanced transparency framework, which all countries also need to submit for the BTR this year. Next slide, please.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not sure why it doesn't work with this one. Wait for a moment. I'm sorry, being so I click full screen and I see full screen now. Is it full for you?
Not from our side, I think. But no.
Sorry.
Supana, try sending it to me, and I'll share.
Okay. Okay, I will send it to you, Dana-san. Thank you very much. Okay, here we go. Send it to you.
Is it full screen?
Oh,
yeah.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dana-san. Next slide, please. Okay, so as my colleagues already mentioned about like Article 6.2 reporting, and I'd like to go into details. So Article 6.2 specifically focus on reporting for the cooperative approach that involve the transfer of the ITMO between country, and reporting under Article 6.2 also serves several important purposes, such as like firstly the transparency. So reporting also ensure clear and open communication about the cooperative approach, including the type of ITMOs being transferred and how they contribute to emission reductions. Secondly, it's avoid double counting. So reporting also help prevent the same emission reductions from being counted toward the transferring and receiving countries' NDCs. So this also maintain the integrity of overall emission reduction effort. And thirdly, accountability. So reporting also allows for monitoring and verification of the cooperative approach, which also ensuring the activities are being implemented effectively and also deliver the promised emission reductions. And at COP26, we already set out like three types of reporting, which is the initial report, annual information, and regular information. Also mention about like the reporting deadline, frequencies, and reporting form. And I think in COP27 in Sharm el Sheikh, we also adopted the report outline for initial report and also the Annex 4 to BTR, which is the regular information, as well as the draft agreed electronic format or annual information for testing. Next slide, please. So these are like the three main type of the report required under Article 6.2 that I mentioned earlier. So initial report, so it's when the parties decided to participate in a cooperative approach. Initial report is the comprehensive report that you need to submit before any ITMOs are being authorized. And the outline of the report include the of party participation responsibilities and description of NDCs, and also the accounting methodology used to quantify the emission reductions, and also the expected environmental benefits. And regarding the annual information, so this is basically the yearly update track of the ongoing implementation, which you need to provide the detail on the amount of ITMO being transferred during the year, and also the corresponding adjustment made to the NDC to avoid double counting. Lastly, the regular information. So this is the report that provide additional details on the cooperative approach. So this will also be relevant to the submission of BTR, and Yeah. Okay, next slide, please. So to ensure the accuracy and transparency, so the report also needs to go multiple step process, such as like the consistency check and review. So consistency check, it's a technical review process that verify that the report information align with the overall NDC accounting and also the ETF reporting of the participating countries. So this also ensure the consistency across the different reporting system. The Article 6 technical review. So expert reviewer assess the report information for the completeness, accuracy, and transparency. So this review process help identify any potential issues and or inconsistency in the data. And then they will also provide recommendations. So based on the review, recommendation may be made to improve the reporting or address. Next slide, please. Okay, so why preparing an initial report early is important. So the country can understand what information is needed to be a report and where can it be found, collected, and whether the additional policies or technical decisions are needed. And we need to also ensure that it fulfills the participation responsibility and building common understanding among the partner countries on the element of the cooperative approach that should be in place. And lastly, the initial report will be reviewed by the Article 6 technical expert review that I mentioned earlier. And this also will allow the country to receive the recommendation for the implementation of the cooperative approach. Next slide, please. So the initial report. So this is some that we try to capture. So what kind of information are needed and when you need to submit it and how, and also where to submit it. So the initial report is actually the document that needs to be submitted by the country participating in the cooperative approach that involve the transferring ITMOs to another country. So this report serves as the foundation for the transparent and accountable implementation. And so for the first section, participation responsibility. So this section demonstrates the reporting country is the party to the Paris Agreement, and also it needs to verify whether the country has prepared, communicated, and maintained the NDCs as outlined in Article 4.2 of the Paris Agreement. And also, additionally, it details the country arrangement for authorize the use of ITMOs toward achieving the NDC goal. The second sessions will highlight the description of parties NDC. So this section provides a clear overview of country NDCs, including its emission reduction target and chosen time frame for achieving the NDCs. So this also highlight the relevant aspect of NDCs, which help the reviewers to understand how it more contribute to the country overall climate goals. Third section is about like accounting information. So this technical detail on how cooperative approach utilize ITMOs. So it explains the metric of the ITMOs and which corresponding adjustment method are you using. And this also the method used for quantifying the country NDC itself. And the fourth section is the cooperative approach. So this section provides the detailed information about the specific cooperative approach for which the report is being submitted. So usually it includes the activities that, type of activities that generated ITMOs and also expected level of the mitigations achieved by the approach, and also authorized entity responsible for the emission reduction achieved by the, authorized entity responsible for overseeing and managing the ITMOs. And also, last but not least, the clear explanation of how the approach ensure environmental integrity, meaning it deliver a real and verifiable and additional emission reductions. So this also needs to be submitted no later than the authorization of ITMOs, and the initial report template is currently available on CARP, which is the centralized accounting reporting platform on the UNFCCC Secretariat website. And next slide, please. And preparation of initial report. So this is basically the sample flow that we try to help our partner country to understand what kind of process it would be. So the first one will be to review the template of the initial report that currently available on the website. And then we identify the source of information with considering whether the information is already available or not, and then where to find the information. And then we also need to set up the reporting procedure. So identifying like whether you need the national procedure to formulate or approve the initial report, and then also mentioning about like the setting the timeline and also the drafting process. So this also we need to engage with the relevant agencies to collect the information, and then we fill in the draft report. While we also need to ensure the consistency, then we also need to talk with the partner country and for the coordination and the submission. So usually the NFP or the responsible agencies, so we'll submit the initial report to the UNFCCC Secretariat for the publications. Next slide, please. Okay, so annual information. So this is another crucial report. This annual information is the yearly report submitted by country to country participating in the cooperative approach that involve transferring of ITMOs. So the information usually typically include in the annual information is the reporting period. So this specifies the year for which the information is being provided. You need to also provide the information on the ITMO transfer. So this section also detail the numbers and types of ITMO being transferred during the reporting year. This will provide a clear picture of the actual mitigation achieved during the cooperative approach, and also the information on the corresponding adjustment. So this section details the adjustment made to the NDCs of both transferring and receiving countries to avoid double counting of the ITMO, which typically which include the amount of ITMO transfer and corresponding adjustment made by the transferring country, and also confirmation that the receiving country has subtract the same amount of like ITMO from their NDCs to reflect the acquired ITMOs. And yeah, so this will need to be submit no later than 15 April of the following year. And currently there is the draft agreed electronic format, which is the result from COP27. And we hope that this could be adopted soon. And yeah, and for the record, this will also be submitted in the Article 6 database. And next slide, please, Dennis. Okay, this one is the regular information. So this is another component of reporting process that it goes beyond the initial report and annual information. So this will provide additional details on the ongoing implementation throughout the life of the cooperative approach. So what needs to be included? So this section, like changes or updates. So this section detail any significant change or update to the cooperative approach since the initial report. So it could be modification of the participating country involved or adjustment of the type of activity generating ITMOs, and also revision to the methodology used for quantifying emission reduction, and updates to the entity responsible for managing ITMOs. And here you can see that the annual information, this will also need to be included in the structure summaries. So the structure summaries will be available as the common tabular format too in the ETF reporting tool. So This also need to be submitted together with the BTR as the Annex 4. So I think the importance of the regular information is to improve transparency. So regular information provide a more comprehensive picture of the cooperative approach beyond the initial report and annual information. And also this also enhance the accountabilities that country demonstrated the ongoing commitment to the approach and its effectiveness in the achieving emission reductions. Next slide, please. Okay, so this I'm going to explain a bit about the linkages of Article 6.2 reporting with NDC accounting. So as you can see the timeline here, Article 6 reporting, and also the ETF and also the NDCs. So usually the Article 6 reporting will play a critical, important role in ensuring the accuracy and integrity of the country NDC accounting. So and how it will be linked. So firstly is the tracking of ITMOs. So reporting details how ITMO are accounted for in the transferring of country NDCs. So this ensure that the transfer reduction are not counted toward their own emission and reduction effort. And corresponding adjustments, this is also to avoid the double counting. And this and also finally to transparent in inventory. So reporting allows the clear communication on how ITMOs are incorporated into the national GHG inventory and yeah, next slide, please. Yes. Okay, so this is just giving you like a bit of the mapping of the linkages between the enhanced transparency framework and other provision of the PA, but I will just focus on the Article 6. So the ETF that established like under Article 13 of the Paris Agreement. So this also set out the requirement for countries to report on their progress towards their NDC. So Article 6 reporting complement the ETF in several ways. So first one is to focus on the ITMOs, while the ETF provide the broad overview of the country climate actions. The Article 6.2 focus on specifically on detail regarding ITMOs used for the mitigation purpose. And secondly is the detailed information. So Article 6.2 reporting provide a more in-depth information on the ITMOs themselves, such as their origin verification process. So this enhances the overall transparency of the mitigation effort. And lastly is to complement pictures. So together, the ETF and Article 6.2 provide a comprehensive picture of the country progress towards achieve its NDCs. So this also ensure that both domestic and international mitigation effort are clearly reported and accounted for. And yeah, as you can see, and then Article 13 will also feed into the Article 14 of the global stock take. Yeah, I think that's it for me. So thank you. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions,
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chetep, for the informative presentation about the linkage of Article 6, specifically Article 6 point, the component of Article 6.2. And I think we have 2 questions in the chat box. So maybe if you can just clear, there is one question from Mr. Neeraj and one is from Mr. Saik.
I think questions from Mr. Saik is quite similar to what Supanat asked. I mean, like what was asked to Supanat earlier, right? So yeah. So for Mr. Neeraj, so for parties having single ENDC, is there any guidance? Um, yeah, so I think questions from Mr. Neeraj, I think this is very interesting questions. At the moment, I need to check the guidance again I believe that there's the this is all interesting questions, but I it's a bit difficult for me to answer right now. But we can also get back to you on this. We believe that there's a guidance on this. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, so now the last presentation is from me. So let me tell you more about I think the last three presentation covered the most of the information, and it is easy for me to speak now. So I will say just a few things about the Article 13 to linkage with Article 6, basically the NDC tracking, because as you know that what we are doing in the BTR, which is, of course, there is annual reporting in the Article 6, but biannually we are preparing the BTR, each developed and developing countries. So let me share my screen. Okay. Yeah. So I have some few slides, and then we will complete the presentation and again open the question and answers and the summary of our today's webinar. And we will also run the Mentimeter. So let's me quickly go through the what is the Article 6 that we already know, but in terms of the BTR reporting, how it is linked. So this is just you everyone know, but if those who are new people to the Paris Agreement, there are so many articles, and that's why there is one of the article that we are talking is the Article 6. But instead of another articles that are important for the preparing the country, that this is a regular exercise for all the country that they are preparing the national communications biennial update report, and now they are replacing the BTR in place of the BUR. So transparency, this is the main reason. Article 13, we call it enhanced transparency framework under the Paris Agreement, and under this, you know that we are doing this all transparent information, and one of the component is Article 6 that we saw in the last presentation. But the Article 4, which is also the important, which is regarding the NDC, that all key policies, action, measure that all countries are mentioning, and now we have to track this all key policies or actions or measures that we are taking in our country. And not only tracking, but we have to report in a particular format, which is called the common tabular format tables, which in short we call it the CTF tables. So I will quickly go through the what is the information in the Article 4 regard as per the MPGs. So most of you are aware that there are two decisions that we follow for preparation of this report. One is the decision 5 CMA3 and one is the decision 18 CMA1. And those two decisions are the kind of the guidelines, or we can say the final regulations, or each instruction that we have to follow when we are preparing the BTR or national communications. So I also want to tell you about that linkages between this NDC, this enhanced transparency framework, and the global stock tech. So every 5 years, all countries are submitting now NDCs, and the next target is in 2025. Under the NS transparency framework, every 2 years we will submit the BTR, and every 4 years we will also submit the national communication. And this all NDC will be reviewed every 5 years under the global stock tech. You may be aware that the last global stock tech in the Dubai in the COP28, where the main idea about this global stock tech to review all the NDCs of the countries, those who have mentioned their goals, their policies in their NDC. And if we analyze this all actions that countries are taking, then where we are standing in terms of taking the actions to limit our global temperature. And that's the main objective of our Paris Agreement, to limit the temperature rise to 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius. So these all things are linked to each other. And of course, Article 6 is a part of the NS transparency framework, you can say, which is a Paris Agreement under. And there is also the reporting that that initial report to be submitted every year, and You can also link it with the BTR when you are submitting every 2 years the biennial transparency report. The developing country report every 2 years, but the developed country report every years. And for them, this is a common practice. They already submitting an annual national inventory report from so many years. But for developing country, now we every 2 years we will submit the our biennial transparency report. And the main component is the inventories, the NDC tracking, the all policies, impact and adaptation, whatever support that we have received and what is our need, that is the part of for the developing country. So if we see the relation between the tracking progress and accounting of this all NDCs, you know that for the greenhouse gas inventory, and we follow the 5 principle of TACC, that transparency, accuracy, completeness, consistency, and comparability. But if we also cover the accounting now with NDC, there are two more principles: is the environmental integrity and avoid the double counting, which we have already shown in the last presentation. So all country are now communicate the NDC every 5 years. Not only they declare, but now they also track the each NDC that we have declared in our nationally determined contribution in every 5 years. We will also identify the indicators that are from the policies that we have declared, and then we also track them. Not only track them, but we also show them the progress, that what is the progress of each policy that we have mentioned in our NDC. And this progress are also in a particular format, which we call the common tabular format. So in the next few slides, I also have some snapshot of this table, which will give you more clarity. And this we have already seen in the last presentation that how the ETF is linked with the Article 6 and Article 13, but just give you the overview that the main reporting for the country under the Article 13 is the NIR and the BTR. Of course, you can submit a NIR as a separate document, but also as a combined document with the BTR. NIR is basically the National Inventory Report, which we also call the Greenhouse Gas Inventory chapter. And now we have a, you can see this information that Article 13, greenhouse gas inventory and NDC tracking are the mandatory for the all developing countries and developed countries. But the adaptation and the support needed and receive are the voluntary. So if country want to submit, but there is also the guidelines and the tables that we have to follow. So it's not like that we can submit anything in this adaptations and also the support needed and receive chapter. We have to follow the guidelines, and there is a table. As a developing country, we have some flexibility provisions available, so we can take it and we can improve it in the further reports that we will submit, maybe a second, third, fourth BTR. And you can see in the left-hand side that NDC, that Article 4 of the Paris Agreement, tell you more about how what information should you cover in the NDC, how your policy action that will be clearly described, and it should be ambitious and everything, that common terminology in the Paris Agreement. And Article 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, 11. And so maybe we can consider that Article 4, 6, and 13 are completely linked with and mostly basically to the NDC tracking chapters of the BTR. So let's move to the, and the, if we see the reporting guidelines under the Article 13, that we are preparing the BTR. In the BTR, as I mentioned, that the greenhouse gas inventory chapter and the NDC tracking chapter, which is a cell requirement. So cell requirement, you know that is a mandatory. You have to report that. You can take some flexibility provision, but it is mandatory to report in the BTR. Then the process is the technical expert review. So if you are adopting the carbon 6 carbon market approach and everything in your country, so when you are preparing the NDC tracking chapter, you have to also include this information in this common tabular format. And after that, it will also go for the review, not only the inventory and the NDC, but NDC with Article 6. So you also have to report transparently and as much as reliable, accurate information. So during the review, it will be an easy process for the country and also the secretariat, those people who are conducting the review of your BTR. and then the final presentation of the FMCP, that facilitative multilateral consideration of progress, earlier which is called as ICA, International Consultation Analysis. So where the country present their final BTR in front of the all developing countries in COP or maybe a June session. So this is the one snapshot from the, I think one of the OECD report, which tells what are the relation between the Article 6 and Article 13. And as I mentioned that every 2 years we report the BTR, and the under BTR there is the NIR, National Inventory Report, which could be submitted as a separate or as a standalone report or a joint report with the BTR. But the Article 6 is already covered in the last presentation. So it is also the kind of the initial report that and the annual report that you have to submit it. But when the BTR and the annual report of the Article 6 comes together, maybe you can link both this document and you can submit the one document from the country, which reduce the burden on you, on the team that we are preparing. And under the Article 13, we will report this all information through a common reporting table, which is called the CTF, Common Tabular Format Table. And there are structures summary. There are around 12 tables and one annexure. So I will give you in the next, and the final we will submit to a UNFCCC portal. So this is just principles that we, for the Article 6, you know that whatever Article 6 activity that we carried out in our country, we should ensure that environmental integrity, link our NDC tracking progress with the Article 6, if it is we are following the guidelines, and also the Article 6 reporting obligation, that initial reporting, regular reporting with the BTR every 2 years, and also the annual information. So this is the table that I want to give you. Each developing country now will submit their NDC tracking, not only a descriptive part, but we also have to report as a tabular format. So this all tabular format are available for the country, and in the, I think this is an 18 CMA1 and 5 CMA3, clearly tell about that these are the 12 tables, what you should include in these tables, and how your NDC should be described clearly. So it will be easily communicate or is easily transfer, what you can say that easily understandable to the any person. So this is the common reporting table for all countries. So even if you want to do a comparison with any country, you can easily do that. So table 1 is just a basic, but table 3 and 4, where there is a role of Article 6 and there is a proper rows and the columns where you have to report the information related to Article 6. So in the next slide, I will give you the quick snapshot of that table. This is just table 1 where we have to input information about the all indicators that we have derived from our NDC, and also not only the indicator but the all basic information related to that indicator. What is the reference point, level, baseline, base year, starting point, target year, everything. And if we go to table 3, there are so many rows, but I am only giving you a snapshot of the ITMOS related NDC. So if you go to a table 3 of this common tabular format, there are a proper instruction where they asking the information related to the ITMOS that we use and that we are covering through NDC tracking. If the countries are implementing this or approaching this carbon 6 market, or is there any methodology or any kind of system in the country, and which is linked to the NDC tracking goals that we have already declared in the our country's national determined contribution. If not in the previous, then maybe you are planning to cover in the next NDC, then there is this cells that you have to fill when the country is submitting a BTR. You have to provide this information. The para of the precision 18 CMA1, the para 75, 77 are the main para that you can follow or you can read to understand that what information that you have to provide in the NDC tracking. These are of course completely linked with this country, those who are using this kind of methodologies or ITMOS for their achieving the you can say the national NDC goals or actions. And the another table is the table 4, where we are providing all detailed information about the each policy what are the reference point, everything, and what are the period of that NDC from the first year to the target year, and what is the progress that we have made. So for the each policy, what is the kind, you can say that how much the greenhouse gas emission you have achieved through each policy, and what is the role of that, you can say the utmost that cooperative approaches that you are using, and if you are that all approaches that are involved use of this NDC, you can mention it here. So this now we can say that every information, if you are reporting that initial report as Article 6, you can link this both, and maybe you can just pick some information from that report to this BTR, specifically this common tabular format. Yeah, so this is the quick introduction about, or you can say the quick overview of the Article 6 and Article 13, specifically the BTR reporting that every 2 year we are doing. So I will stop sharing and I will open the question for the all participants. If you have any question, please unmute your mic and speak, or I can see there are question, any question in the chat. Let me see. Okay, there is a one question from the Neeraj that one of the maybe Supanat or Chetan can answer. One of the end uses of Article 6.4 MCU is for result-based climate finance. Do MCUs used towards the result-based finance also need to be reported under the financial support provided received?
Yeah, maybe I can jump in, and thank you very much for that interesting question. And so I think this is a very interesting question, and it very much gives to the sense why I think we are having this kind of webinar where we try to link expertise between Article 6 and Article 13. And as far as I can say currently, from Article 6, from the Article 6 guidance, we do not currently have any guidance relating to how your engagement in Article 6 will be reported in other part of the ETF, other than, as Jepal mentioned, the structure summary. So in Article 6, we pretty much focused on ensuring that this about the NDC accounting and the avoidance of double counting. But we there's currently no guidance from Article 6 about how you report that in other parts, including on financial resources that are provided or received. But from our understanding from the practices, we also understand that there are countries who consider about the importance to ensure the avoidance of double claiming, in a sense that if countries are acquiring the utmost for use to their own NDC, they should not also claim that as part of their financial contribution. So that seems to be a principle that many countries are adhering to. So I can understand where you're coming from, in the sense that, so what about the MCU, those that are not authorized and they are not used towards other countries NDC, but they are originated from Article 6. So how would you report on that? And from my I would not be able to provide a definite answer, and maybe we should maybe we will see evolving reporting practices later on. But I would share my views that I think there's also no prevention from countries to report that. Also for countries who are providing support on that, to report as a financial resources provided, because they don't claim those mitigation outcomes. So that would not be double claiming. And there's nothing also preventing from countries to also report that those as financial support received, because those are the support you received in order for you to be able to implement your NDC, because those are also used, the mitigation outcome from those activities are also contributing to your NDC implementation. So I think this is to reflect that why there may be no clear guidance on that. It does not prevent countries to provide those information for transparency as well. So I hope that will help clarify. And I think this is an interesting question, and we will see reporting practices in the future on this as well. Thank you, and back to you, Jepal.
Yeah, thank you, Supanan, for clearly or providing more information to the participant question. So I will request, if anyone has any question, please feel free to ask. Yeah, Mr. Dorji from the Bhutan, please.
Hello everyone. Very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to every one of you. Thank you. Actually, I would like to thank four of you for providing very nice presentation. It is very insightful. My question is of weight regarding the readiness of the country, host country, or participating countries under Article 6.2. So I would like to ask this question to Supana. I know there are many countries like Thailand. They are way ahead of rest of the countries in terms of readiness to participate in Article 6. So in case of Bhutan, like we do have achieved some of the prerequisites, and at the same time we also have made some strategic decisions to participate in the market, Article 6 market. We have market rules and we have infrastructures like registry in place for now. But what we have seen is like it's a whole lot of process. It requires a lot of time. It's a learning by doing. So when we have rules, those rules are not adequate, not so clear. So we are currently developing a carbon market policy framework, which actually will guide the overall market development of Bhutan. So at the same time, since uh, since our work has been like heard by private sectors and other stakeholders, they are much interested to participate under this market. So they keep on coming to us and like they wants to do projects under Article 6.2. So for now, like we are unable to give guidance because there are many things that need to be fixed for now. So up until we don't have the framework, we actually cannot give like the guidance clarity on how to go about registration, how to go about like coming authorization process. So for that, since Thailand is way ahead of us, I would like to hear your experience on how you have dealt with those participants in your process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jose, and also thank you very much for sharing that information. And in your case, and I'm no longer representing Thailand, but I can share from our experience that we are engaging in that process. And I think you're not alone in this process because as we are engaging with our partner countries under the A6IP, many countries are in the similar stage where they are thinking about how can they set up the effective framework for Article 6 implementation. And it's very important to understand the relationship between Article 6 and your NDC and how your participation in Article 6 can help you in the implementation of the NDC. So this is one of the very important elements that many countries are looking into, and they need to make a strategy on how they can make the best use of Article 6. But also from experiences, things that we heard that are very helpful also for many countries is that they are learning by doing and that they are learning from actually implementing. So actually trying to see what are the practical implementation, what are the practical projects that they can implement and how that would help them in terms of their NDC implementation. So I would say that that's also one of the important elements in the sense that, and this would also lead to, as you mentioned, the engagement of stakeholders. And in the case of the countries that we see advancing well in Article 6 readiness is that they engage private sector in many different processes, including in the Article 6 framework development. They have private sector representing, for instance, in the case of Thailand, and also, if I understanding correctly, Cambodia or Ghana as well, private sector are involved as a representative from the federation in different committees that are developing the Article 6 framework. And the private sector role is important in terms of identifying what are the potential sectors, what are the potential mitigation opportunities and mitigation actions, and what are the barriers that currently give them limitation for them to actually implement those activities, and how Article 6 through these access to technologies, to the access to financial resources or capacity building, how can that help overcome those barriers and help them implement the Article 6 projects. So I would say that from what we are seeing is that learning by experience would be the one of the very important thing. And also, of course, to learn from other countries and to see how other countries are putting in place authorization criteria, what they're thinking about the role that Article 6 can play in different sectors, and then see from the experience that they have, the lesson learned from those. So in A6IP, we are also supporting this kind of mutual, like a mutual learning, or that you can also learn from other countries on how they are doing, and to have facilitate these kind of exchanges among different countries that are helpful for this for this preparation, for this readiness process as well. So I hope I answered that question. Yeah, and back to Japan.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Dorji, and thank you, Supanan, for the question. So I can see there is no question or not any comment in the chat box. So maybe we can move to the next round of activities. So maybe I can invite Mr. Supanan for give the overall comment, and then maybe I can go to Ms. Diana for the concluding remarks. Yeah, please, Mr. Supanan.
Thank you very much, Japan, and thank you very much to everyone for I think a very interactive discussion. So as this is the first time, so of course I think it's always good and it's very encouraging to see this kind of creating a synergies between people from Article 6 and people from Article 13. So I do recognize also some people from Article 6 Loom as well. So I think this is a very good opportunity for us to build this kind of a bridge where we can connect with each other and to learn from each other. And as you can see from presentation from Bing Sang and presentation from Japan, so there's a lot for us to get into further discussion and to get into more details and to understand how countries can prepare for those elements. So you see the structure summary that JPower presented, which is quite complicated. So I can understand that it would take some time for countries to think about how can they report Article 6 information in those structure summary in the common tabular format. So a lot of things are happening currently, and although I would say that many countries in this preparation process for the BTR, I would understand that for most of the countries, you won't be reporting Article 6 information at this time because you're currently not many countries are currently not providing authorization or not executing any transfers. So there will only be some countries that will provide this information. But it will also be helpful for you in the preparation for your next BTR and for you to understand what kind of information that you need to provide. So what kind of infrastructure or what kind of system that you need to be put in place to ensure that you can effectively collect those information and that you have confidence to report on those information when it comes to the time where you will submit your next due BTR. So I really appreciate the interaction, and I think it's very helpful to see a lot of questions that pretty much raise the issue that we see. That's why the important in this connection between Article 6 and Article 13. And of course, there may not be we may not be able to answer all the questions at this stage. So of course, there are some areas where further clarification will need to be made at the CMA as well. But we think that this is a helpful process, and that we look forward to the continuation. So I would provide my remarks from here, and I hope that we will continue in this group to further this discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Supanat. And let me move towards Miss Diana, and I will request her to tell the participant that how to approach us for the support. We are readily available, and if you have any doubt, how can we, how just an email or what is the process to approach A6IP, and how can we get support specifically in country or maybe virtually anything.
Thank you so much, J. Paul. Well, basically, with partner countries or countries interested in joining A6IP, basically they can just send us an email, go to our website, click join, become a partner country or partner organization. Once you do that, then we send you additional information of the steps of the process of how we would start the support package and assess more your needs of your partner, the partner country, and then work with partner organizations that might already be working in country with some of our partner country organizations to fill in those gaps of Article 6 support. So basically, I can share the website in the chat probably. And then anyone who's interested, please go to our website for more information. Check real quickly. Okay, I have dropped our website information in the chat, and we would be more than happy to have anyone, a partner country or international partner organization, reach out to us.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Diana, for covering the information and how to reach out to you. And if any country, anyone has any, you think that do you need support for the Article 6, you can approach the CBIT-GSP or the A6IP team. We are happy to cover you, and whatever support we can provide you, we are happy to uh, appreciate your support and appreciate the request from all of you. And as you know, this is the starting, but of course this is our first webinar that we try to cover the information. But if there is any particular request from the country or anything that related to Article 6 that you want to understand, please feel free to contact us. We are happy to even conduct a particular team session with you to maybe understand each other more, what is your request and how support we can provide you to. So please don't hesitate to contact us. And at the end now, let me take one feedback from all the participants. So I will request you to join the Mentimeter survey again. I have posted the link in the chat box, but it is the same link that we use in the starting. Let me also share the screen. Now it is a, uh, self-paced survey, so you can continue to answer all the question. Those who have already connected to Mentimeter, please. Yeah, here it is. So this question that we got in the during the first, but yeah. So next question that we want to know that what aspect of the Article 6 do you find the most challenging or maybe unclear for your country according to your national circumstances or whatever is the situation in your country? So I would request all the participants to please, there are only 3-4 questions that we need to know, which will help us to improve in the next round of activity, maybe for the in-country or the regional activity that we are planning to do in the Asia region. You can open the link in the chat box or just type www.menti.com and enter the code 6939663. And those who have answered, they can move to the next question. All the questions are open, and I will request all the participants to please participate. Okay, I am received the 7 responses, but I request everyone, whatever in your mind, this is the complete anonymous survey. We don't know who is answering what. So this is a chance to let us know what is in your mind, what is the situation in your country. What do you think about the Article 6 implementation, everything? Tracking, registry, ETF, authorization arrangement, policy buy-in, corresponding adjustment. Okay, so now we may have a kind of idea that what could we can do in the next round of the activity. So let me move to the next question. What type of capacity building support do you believe is most needed for effective Article 6 implementation in your country? To understand it more, yeah. So this is the one of the area where you need training or capacity building of the team that working in. Yes, as Supanet mentioned, CTF table is a kind of a complex thing to understand because there are so many rows, and if we have a more policies, more action, then the rows will increase. Hands-on training on CTF table, some of the operational challenges in tracking, how to manage it most, policy creation. We still have more than 30 participants, so I would request everyone to please join the Mentimeter. It's an easy one, just click the link and answer. I think the adjustment word that we are hearing so many times from last two questions. So yeah, I think double counting, adjustment, this is the main, you can say, keyword comes to the mind whenever you heard the Article 6 reporting. Okay, now only two more questions. So how aware are you of the linkages between the Article 6 reporting and the enhanced transparency framework of the Paris Agreement? Yeah, maybe our today's PPTs give you more idea about the linkage, but of course it's not enough. In 2 hours, we can't cover the each and everything related to that, but we are happy to cover. If you have any needs or any idea or any activity that you think that we can support, please contact us. And I think okay. Last two questions. So what topic would you want to learn more in relation to the linkages between the Article 6 and Article 13, transparency? Yes, structure summary, CTF table. Type of report and timing of report. Yeah, because it's a confusing the initial report and the biennial transparency report. And yeah, those who don't know about Article 6, they are not confused, but those who are involved in Article 6 and the BTR, they are confused that how many report that we have to submit. Yeah. Linkages between the NDC tracking progress with Article 6. Yeah, so I think filling the CTF table with the ITMOs and the approaches will be a kind of a challenge for the, we can say, for the Asia region. Tools and the processes. Okay, and then the last question is about the feedback, which is also necessary for us to improve in the next round activity. Whatever we are doing, if you are satisfied, please. If you are not satisfied, please vote. Which is also the part of our reporting, that whatever we are doing, we also have to report to the higher authorities, like CBIT-GSP is reporting to the JEP. So we also report that what are the participants and everything, who is them, and the feedback related to the today's webinar. So please vote. And the link is also active. So I will also send this link to the mentee through email. So you can also vote, those who are not able to vote. And as mentioned in the starting, I will also share all these PPTs to all the participants. And it will also uploaded on this our climate transparency platform, where we upload and regularly update everything that we are doing. either with collaboration or the single. So I can see around 13 to 15 people are joined the Mentimeter, but if remaining can join, please join it. The link is in the chat box. So maybe I can now stop sharing, and I would like to thank all the participants, those who have actively participated, also those who have joined from the starting to still they are here. So thank you so much for staying for the more than 2 hours. Your interest and your choice and everything are really greatly appreciated by the CBIT-GSP and the A6 IP Center. I would also like to thank the all colleagues from the A6 IP Center. We are trying to organize this webinar from so many time and successfully, at least we have now started. So now we are actively available. Please don't hesitate to contact us to A6 IP team or the CBIT-GSP. We are happy to support you, and thank you all of you. And I would also like to thank our director from the 6IP. We had last 2-3 rounds of the meeting, and he's very active and very interested to work in the Asia region. So please take as much as benefit of this Article 6 team. They are properly, we can say there is a one proper team or proper organization specifically for the Article 6. Like transparency, you can come to us, but if you want to go the Article 6, A6 IP, there is a proper launch, proper organization is there. So thank you so much to everyone. Thank you so much to our A6 IP team, and thanks to all participants for actively participation.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, everyone.
Thank you.
All presenters.
Thank you, Jepal, for all your support.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.